Raised as a Catholic, Jack Kerouac found much of his inspiration for his way of life through his study of the Bible, specifically the Beatitudes. The 8 Beatitudes were even a part of the reason Kerouac and John Cleland Holmes named it the Beat Generation. In this project, we will find the ties between the Beat Generation and the Beatitudes.
The Beatitudes are a part of the book of Matthew. The word beatitude means to be blessed or happy. Coming from the Latin root beatus, in his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus describes the qualities one should possess as a follower.
What we think Matthew was doing was he was making Jesus the new Moses. So Moses went up on a mountain and he got the law. And Jesus went up on a mountain, we call it the Sermon on the Mount, that's where these Beatitudes come from, and proclaimed a new law. And that new law begins, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Jesus' point was that we could enjoy life here as well, and that there are some things, some attributes that we have to have in our lives so that we can be blessed.
Blessed are, that's the thing that jumps out at me, of course, first of all. For me, it really is, in some ways, I guess, the core, the crux of what it means to look like the Christian community and to act like the Christian community, to be the Christian community. So I think, they're crucial.
The 8 Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Blessed are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted.
Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth.
Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied.
Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy.
Blessed are the pure of heart, for they shall see God.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they should be called the children of God.
Blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
When first written, the opening of the sermon was meant to shock the audience as an inversion of the standard values.
William Burroughs used shock value to catch his audience's attention as well.
He used his obscene images to illustrate the ambiguity of the line between what society accepts and rejects.
Jesus said a lot that shocked and surprised. First of all, Jesus didn't really, I suppose we could say he did care about the reactions that people had.
It kind of flips it, you know. Blessed are the poor, blessed are the humble, blessed are the meek, which is not how we would normally look at something. That's kind of what the whole mission of Jesus did, challenged.
Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Many of the Beat writers felt that instead of sitting in polite silence, that it was their duty to address the controversial and taboo subjects, issues that without them would never be discussed.
In his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus Christ took on a similar duty.
He was not afraid to speak the truth as he saw it. And that's, of course, what got him killed. He spoke truth and people didn't want to hear it.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they should be called the children of God.
In Diane de Prima's poem Poetics, she writes, "Preserve the language, there are enough fascists on both sides so that no one will lose this war. The language shall be my element."
Allen Ginsberg was an anti-war and civil liberties activist and played a big part in many protests.
The war in Vietnam was starting up at that time. Those who had a conscientious objection to this war got in trouble easily. So a yearning, a searching for something deeper, and I think too in the church there were many churches that caught on to this. There is a deeper spirituality, and God is asking something more of us than simply to have a nice building with a nice Sunday school program for the middle class whites on Sundays. That through the prophets in the Bible, God is calling us to challenge some of the ways of society, including war. So a lot of younger people caught up in the search for something deeper took this path.
Blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
In the poem How, Allen Ginsberg says, "Who were expelled from the academies for crazy and publishing obscene odes on the windows of the skull."
Allen Ginsberg's Howl and William S. Burroughs' Naked Lunch Both faced obscenity and censorship trials, and all members of the Beat generation were criticized for their experimental work and new school of thought.
The old catechism was our chief aim as human beings is to glorify God. Jesus said, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. That's three loves: God, others, and self. And I believe that's what Jesus challenges us to do. Without that, I have no meaning in life. My life begins, it ends, that's it. Why not screw anybody I want? Why not make money off of anybody any way I can? But Jesus challenges me to connect my life with others, to connect my life with God's purpose in life. Sometimes the church helps us understand that. Sometimes the institutional church takes us way off of that because it doesn't stick its neck out the way Jesus did.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
And I shambled after, as I'd been doing my whole life, after people who interest me, because the only people for me are the mad ones, the ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, desirous of everything at the same time.
Jack Kerouac and John Cleland Holmes said that to be beat was to be reduced to one's essentials, to just be true, honest, and completely human, to ask questions like, who am I, and what next?
You know, to me, God is so vast and so not confined to just any one way, and any way that God chooses through the Holy Spirit to make himself known to us. You know, I think we need to be open to all avenues that God is trying to reach us through. And you know, certainly scriptures are a huge part of that for the Christian tradition, but you know, God's still speaking. God didn't stop, you know, 2,000 years ago or whenever they decided that, you know, the canon was complete. And I think we need to really stay open to hearing and to seeing, paying attention to how God's trying to reach us today. So,
in his article, Blessed Are the Beatniks, Loyola University professor Peter Gilmore claimed that Kerouac was enchanted by the mysticism of the Beatitudes. Kerouac was a deeply religious writer who once responded to a divinity student's question about the theme of On the Road by saying, "It was really a story about two Catholic buddies roaming the country in search of God, and we found him."